welcome back to the latest instalment of Terrace Talk. A quick turnaround for Norwich City, of course, the 1-1 draw on Friday night against Oxford. It's another Carrow game under the lights this Tuesday when they faced Sheffield Wednesday. With that, delighted to be joined by James from the Wednesday Till I Die podcast. James, first and foremost, thanks for coming back on the show. Delighted to have you back on as usual. It's kind of been, I suppose, a little bit more of a positive week for Wednesday than it has been for Norwich. A 3-0 victory against Plymouth Argyle at Home Park after a bit of a difficult run. I think it was 1 win in 6 prior to that. So what's kind of the feeling, the morale, I suppose, after that particular result?
Yeah, I mean, kind of as this, the return fixture, we've got one eye not on this game, but on the next one, which is the Steel City Derby. So again, it's a fixture where, we're not really that bothered if we're being perfectly honest from a fan's perspective, anyway. But yeah, the win that we got at the weekend was much needed because, as you rightly said, it was 3 straight defeats. You didn't want that to then be 4, and then going into this game potentially 5. And in terms of just from a morale point of view and a confidence perspective, it was much needed. And yeah, I think there is a little bit of a bounce. It's weird as well because from the performance perspective, we've played much better this season and come away with absolutely nothing. And then we go down to Plymouth, and it wasn't great. It wasn't amazing. We didn't absolutely blow them away, as the scoreline probably suggests. But yeah, we score 3 goals and come away with all 3 points, something that we've not done down at Home Park for a very, very long time. So yeah, I think there is that little bit of more, positivity, I guess. And I think as well, given that we had, we did lose 3 on the spin, that P word of playoffs and promotion is kind of slipped by the wayside a little bit now, and it was always in the back of our minds. And even though at the start of the season we were probably mid-table would have been a good result, and I think we'd all admitted that. When you get there and you think, oh, 3 points off, or we can go in the top 6 if we win today, there's that kind of expectation, and I think that's kind of that's gone now a little bit. So there's a little less pressure, and we can just go out there and just enjoy the result, whatever that result may be.
Yeah, you say you would have taken that at the start of the season, 13th at the moment, 7 points off the top 6. So you fully believe that Wednesday can't get in there between now and the end of the season? Obviously, 10 games to go.
Well, they can, obviously. The season and the championship this year it's poor. Let's be honest. Everyone's beating everyone. I think most teams are inconsistent. You've seen with Coventry, you put a bit of a run together and you'll soon shoot up the league table, and they're one of the favourites now to finish in the top 6. So yeah, we can do that, but a little bit like Norwich, really, we have just been massively inconsistent. I think we've won back-to-back games twice this season. I know we've just had that run of 3 straight defeats, but that's only the second time that we've had consecutive defeats all season. The other time was at the start of the season when, again, that was 3 games and 3 defeats. So it has just literally been win, lose, draw constantly throughout the whole season. We've not been able to put that little bit of a run together, which has been a little bit disappointing. And I think ultimately that's where we're going to fall short as well. I think we have had a tough run of fixtures, to be fair. When you look, we've had Burnley, we've had Leeds in there as well. 2 sides at the top. Obviously, we've got United coming up next week. They have been difficult games that on paper you'd look and think you'd be hard pressed to get anything out of those. And the weird thing is as well, we could have actually beaten both of them, but we get beat 3-1 and 4-0 respectively by both Leeds and Burnley. So yeah, I think if you ask me now, are we going to get in the playoffs? Absolutely not. I just don't think we've got the quality or the skill level to do that. Injuries have hit us hard. We're playing Michael Ehekwe and Max Lowe as the 2 centre-back pair. And if you said to me at the start of the season that at this point in the season, that's going to be the 2 centre-backs, I'll be asking you what the hell's happened for that to be the case. Max Lowe's a left-back. Michael Ehekwe should be playing in League One. He's done great since he's come in, and that's no disrespect to him, but we're playing like 5th and 6th choice centre-backs at the moment. So yeah, it's been tough, and a lack of investment in January has really cost us, I think, and that's ultimately why we're going to finish around about where we are at the moment. I mean, look, ask me this next week when we've beaten Norwich and beaten Sheffield United at the weekend, and I might have changed my tune a little bit.
Yeah, it does feel like the results in the Championship this season. You can't count anything out. Things can change very, very quickly. Obviously, Danny Röhl being in charge now for over 18 months, and what a job he's done. You look at kind of when we spoke probably when he first arrived, and at that stage it was Sheffield Wednesday in a difficult, precarious position. Looked like probably going to be relegated back straight down to League One, and survival on sort of the latter stage of the season, 3 points clear of the relegation zone by the end of the campaign. This season very much mid-table and going to look very much with safety pretty much secured already, so that's got to be a positive. So what's the feeling around him? I know there's been a few links to Southampton ahead in the summer. Is there any fears you might lose him?
Any fears? Yeah, very much so. We went in absolute meltdown as a fan base in the past week. Yeah, it came out that he probably is going to be off to Southampton. Depending on who you believe, that deal's apparently already been done. Just to kind of give you a bit of backstory. Southampton was interested in him, in January or back end of last year. That move was kind of blocked by the chairman. We had quite a high compensation figure, which apparently Danny agreed to. And then they just didn't talk. The chairman and the manager did not talk throughout the whole of January, right up until the end of January. So no transfers were made when they were desperately needed. And they were both acting a little bit childish, if you ask me, to be honest. We did sign a few. Signed Armstrong, who's now injured and out for the rest of the season, so that went well. And Sissoko from Plymouth, who played 45 minutes and looks bang average. So the January transfer window wasn't great at all. And that's now, it's reared its head again, and apparently they're interested. They're going to be interested in the summer to bring him in. He was there, of course, under Ralph Hasenhüttl as his assistant manager, so they know him quite well. And yeah, I think it was always going to happen. I think Danny Röhl was always going to leave Sheffield Wednesday at some point. He's not going to be here for 10, 15 years or something ridiculous. I mean, that never happens in football anymore. I know there's a couple of exceptions, but it never, ever happens. But I think as a fan, you're just hoping that it never that never comes along and he's just going to stay here forever. And it's just... Yeah, I think because he's been so good and one of the best managers we've had in such a long time, with resources which, quite frankly, the squad's not good enough, and what he's been able to do with that, it's always the what if, what if the chairman had given him a bit of money, maybe he might have stayed, maybe we might be in the top six. It's all this, if, buts and maybes and everything. And I think the anger is kind of more towards the chairman than it is Danny Röhl. A few people have started, I won't say turn on him, but looking at his kind of body language in the press conferences, and kind of when he came over to the fans at the weekend, and everyone's saying that's it, he's definitely gone, he's a goner. But I think we've just got to enjoy Danny Röhl while we've got him. My own personal belief is that if we're sat here next season, we'll have a different manager in charge. But yeah, it'll be a kind of a thank you very much, and it's just unfortunate that we've not been able to do more with him at the helm. I think it's right manager, wrong time. We just haven't got the squad to be able to do what he's capable of doing.
Yeah, you mentioned the ownership there. I know when we've spoken numerous times down the years that there's always been an issue there, and the communication's been lacking, and maybe his interest and his presence within the football club has not been visible, or seemingly not interested. Has anything changed in terms of that in sort of the months that's passed since we last met at Hillsborough?
It was before January, wasn't it? So we've had the fans forum since then, which I'll not bore everyone to death, but just type in Sheffield Wednesday fans forum January 2025 and have a bit of a giggle, because it was I was there. It was like nearly 5 hours of just him answering questions and going off on tangents and not really answering anything, to be fair. It was an absolute shocker. Do you know what? I think there's just a sense of apathy at the football club at the moment. I mean, there's been noise around kind of potential, people interested in buying the football club, but he keeps saying that the club's not for sale, or it is if the right man comes along. And yeah, I think a lot of people, there's been protests and stuff that have not really worked. That protest group have now said that they're not willing to continue anymore. there's been a lot of infighting amongst fans and stuff, and yeah, it's just not great to see. You want to. Football's a huge part of a lot of people's lives, and when we were talking when you came on our pod about the prices and of tickets and stuff, and I know Norwich are in a similar sort of situation, but Norwich have a much better chance of getting in the Premier League than we do, and yet the prices are Premier League prices for not that good of a quality, and we've not seen many wins at Hillsborough either, which is not great. And yeah, and people are being priced out of the football club and everything else. He just doesn't really. I just don't think he really gets football. I've said that numerous times now, and it's just a bit of a sorry state at the moment. And I asked a question on socials, when we will see Premier League football back at Hillsborough, if ever, and a lot of people said never whilst Chansiri is at the helm, and that was a lot of people saying that. So yeah, a lot of people just want to go and watch the football and don't really get interested in all the stuff off the field, and yeah, it's a bit of a sad state really when you hear people say that.
Yeah, hopefully that can change for the good for Wednesday fans, hopefully in years to come. You mentioned Hillsborough there a few times, and maybe the difficulties you've had at home so far this season, 23rd in the home table. Only Hull have picked up less points at home. So what do you put that down to? Because I've been to Hillsborough plenty of times, and when it's rocking and you sort of up ahead of steam, it can be a really difficult place to go. It's obviously a massive ground, historical ground in the Championship. So what's making it so difficult to not be a fortress?
Do you know what? I think we play better kind of when we're on the counter. If you look at the possession stats, we seem to do better when we have around about 40% possession and kind of let the other teams come on to us and try and break us down. And we are quick in transition. You look at the first goal that we scored at the weekend. We've got the ball at the back four, and rather than just passing it around aimlessly, there's a purpose to it, and we want to get the ball forward as quick as we possibly can. I think the problem is obviously traditionally the home team is the team that kind of wants to set the tempo and has more possession of the football. And then obviously there's that fan expectation as well. If we, no disrespect, but if at Stoke, for example, or at Hillsborough, and they're having 60, 70% of possession, there'll be so many moans and groans from the home fans, it would be untrue. So, and I think as well, other clubs are also savvy to that, and they just let us have the ball. And again, if there's going to be two teams that are going to let each other have it, the home team's going to have more possession than the away side. And we just struggle to break teams down. We're not clinical enough either, which is a bit of a problem. But then, when we come up against some of the better sides like a Burnley or a Leeds or someone like that, then we can let them have the ball, and we do seem to do a little bit better. I mean, both of those sides beat us at Hillsborough, so maybe it's not that good, but I think that is the problem. Away from home, we're more happy to sit in. Look, we're not going to park the bus. We're not going to put 11 men behind the ball, but we will just say to you, right, if you can break us down, then come and have a go. And it seems to work away from home, and like I said, we don't really play that way at home, which is a shame. I mean, having said that, look, some of the games that we played, Coventry, we should have beaten those. We should have beaten Millwall as well, Luton. They're all in quick succession, and we came away with 2 points from those 3 games, and it could have easily been 9, and so the numbers would have looked a lot better. We're playing well, we're just not converting the chances into goals and therefore into points.
Yeah, contrasting that to your away form. I mean, 5th in the away table form for the Championship. It's always kind of been a bit of a struggle, I think, for a lot of teams this year. Getting points on the road is clearly not an issue for Sheffield Wednesday, so that probably plays into a lot of what you were saying there. One player I just wanted to ask you a little bit about, because I think he's a player for me that I've enjoyed watching at different times this season when I've seen Wednesday. Shay Charles, who I know in January there was a lot of saga around, and maybe some links to a team you probably don't want me to mention in red in your certain city, and a lot of kind of story around that. And I think Danny Röhl being linked to Southampton was sort of playing into that, and sort of the saga and debate that was going on between the two clubs. So just how key was it to be able to keep him between sort of now and the end of the season?
I know this is a bold statement, but we've been out of the Premier League since 99-2000 season, so 25 years. Probably the best player that we've had at Sheffield Wednesday since we've come out of the Premier League, and I know, again, that's a bold statement to make, but he's just head and shoulders above anyone else. Just the cool, calm, collected. It's almost like time's in slow motion when he gets the ball, and not in a bad way. He just has that much time to pick out a pass. I think he reads the game incredibly well, which I think buys you that time. Just, shifting the ball from one side to the other to move away from a tackle. Always seems to pick out the right pass as well, whether that is, passing it backwards or whether it's sideways, making a forward pass. It always seems to be the right pass at the right moment. Doesn't score many goals, doesn't get many assists, but that's not his game. Is that kind of sitting midfielder? He just so cool, calm, collected. He can drop into defence if needs be. I think he's a very intelligent footballer as well, which I think obviously works with Danny. You might see it on Tuesday. In possession, out of possession, the movement you get. You're having players dropping into different positions, and then others replacing him and things like that. But he just does it effortlessly. And him and Barry Bannon work really well. I think Bannon always needs someone that he can trust. And obviously he certainly trusts Shea Charles. Absolutely, definitely. So, yeah, it's he's a player that I really like. I would love to say that he was our player. I'm gutted that he's not. And the prospect of coming up against him next season, it will be a red and white shirt, not those down the road, but in a Southampton shirt is one that I'm not mentally prepared for, to be honest.
Yeah, before we talk about the game, is there any other sort of key players or key individuals you'd pick out in the Wednesday camp? I mean, there's a few that probably sort of stick out in terms of goals. I mean, Windass seems to be having a pretty positive campaign. I know there was the links to Brazil randomly over January as well, which was quite the surprise. I've always sort of rated Bernard in the defence. So is there kind of any individuals that Norwich fans should be wary of?
Yeah, well, Deshaun Bernard's injured, so you won't be seeing him, and I think he's going to be out until the end of the season. We didn't bring a centre back in, and he got injured in the first game in February after the window had shut, which was a bit of a shame. Windass everyone's seen the goal he scored against Derby on New Year's Day. He hasn't scored since, which is a little bit of a shame. I did get an assist at the weekend, but he's always one that can pluck something out of nothing. And a great player to watch. The one that you haven't mentioned, he scored a goal at the weekend. Jedi Gassama, we got him from Paris Saint-Germain last summer, and he's just gone better and better and better. He came with Anthony Masaba, two very similar players, wingers that have got lots of pace, love to run at the defence, not scared of having a shot. And he seems to have bulked up in the summer. So this season, he rides challenges a lot better. He'll pick up the ball and he'll just want to run. A criticism is that he perhaps holds onto the ball a little bit too long at times, and his final end product isn't always there. But from an excitement point of view, you always want a player to get you on the edge of your seat, and he's certainly that. The goal he scored on Saturday, Windass actually plays him through, and he rides a challenge on the edge of the box and then puts it into the corner. Great finish. The first goal, which was an own goal, was down to Gassama putting the defender under pressure, and he got it all wrong and put it into his own net. So yeah, he's certainly one that he's young. He's only 21 years old, I believe, and yeah, he's one that I think we don't want him to go, but I think he'll have a lot of interest in the summer, and we could probably get some decent money for him, to be fair.
Yeah, we met back at Hillsborough in sort of the autumn, sort of early winter time. It was a 2-0 Wednesday win. I mean, just intrigued to get kind of your thoughts on Norwich. Have you seen much this season, or was that maybe one of the only times you've seen us? I know at that point we had a lot of injuries and there was a bit of mitigation, but since then, what have you made of us and our season so far?
Yeah, I think that word injuries has been obviously key, hasn't it? I don't think the suspension to Signs has helped. Which obviously was on a decent run of form. He seems to have dropped off a little bit. And Josh Sargent as well. He's one that always sticks out, because if you're ever having a bit of a flutter on a goal scorer, then you can probably back him to be on the score sheet at some point. And I'm surprised that you've been able to keep him. It's probably his injury record which has kept him at Norwich, to be honest. But he seems to be in great form at the moment. And yeah, I'm always surprised not to see Norwich up there. In the past couple of years, you've been bobbing around mid-table. It just seemed Norwich was always the team in the Premier League, and then the top of the Championship, then struggle in the Premier League, and then just rinse and repeat that, year on year. So it is a bit of a surprise. But no, I think you seem to do things the right way as a football club, and there never seems to be too many dramas. I mean, look, I know I'm not inside Norwich, so I don't. You're probably people listening thinking, "What are you on about?" they were this last week and this a couple of weeks ago and everything else. Whereas, when just speaking for myself, from a Sheffield Wednesday perspective, it seems to be something every single week, some sort of saga. But no, from the outside looking in, it looks like Norwich are doing things the right way. It's just a surprise that you're not further up. But I'm sure with as you were saying when you came and spoke to me, that these are projects that are happening, and just fans just need to get on board with it all.
Yeah, our fans are desperate for a win tomorrow evening. Obviously, results have not been going our way much recently. So with that and everything we've spoken around during the show, if you sort of, how do you see this game unfolding at Carrow Road? I mean, if you kind of look back at historical records, Wednesday not won at Norwich since 2009. And it always feels like it's the other way around when we make the trip to Hillsborough. We have a terrible record there, and sort of Wednesday always tend to get the win. So with all that, how do you see the game on Tuesday night?
Do you know what? There's been loads of goals. You score loads of goals at home. We, as you mentioned, our away form is pretty good. Do you know, I'm not sure how we're going to line up with one eye on the game on Sunday. Had we been, a little bit closer to the top six, then obviously you've just got to go and get all 3 points. From a fan's perspective, Shea Charles is on 9 yellow cards. He gets one more. He misses the game on Sunday against United, which will be a huge blow. He played against Plymouth. He didn't pick up a yellow card there. That was a game, again, if he'd have got booked there, he would have missed the derby, because you get a 2-match suspension for 10 yellows. I don't know whether he's going to play or not tomorrow. If it was purely from a fan perspective, I won't be having him anywhere near the squad, let alone the starting 11, because I want him to be fit for Sunday, because Sunday's game means so much. If he is playing, if we do field a fairly strong side, then I think we'll give you a good game. There's not many games this season where we've been well and truly beaten. We've been in pretty much every game after Sunderland and Leeds at the start of the season, and Millwall as well, where we got soundly beaten. All the others we've been in the game, and I feel like tomorrow is going to be another one. I think there's going to be lots of goals. I would take a draw now. I would take a 1-1 draw and just move on to Sunday, really. Yeah,
it feels like it's sort of last chance saloon, I think, for both teams, as they have any aspirations of the top six. Probably feels like both need to win to keep that alive. James, of course, great to have you back on the channel. Just want to plug where Wednesday and Norwich fans can find your guys' content.
Yeah, so it's the Wednesday Side Eye podcast, so you can get us on all the podcast platforms. You can also get us on YouTube as well. We normally talk about this game in midweek, and we do like a fan phone-in on Wednesday, but that is going to be dominated by the game on Sunday. So apologies, Norwich fans. If you win, you won't be able to listen to us moaning. I can't see us talking much about Norwich. We'll be having both sets of fans, Wednesday fans and United fans, going at each other, trying to get a bit of banter going before Sunday's game. But yeah, we normally find us on every Sunday. We do a live show as well that you can all tune in and watch.
Good stuff. Of course, we'll link that down below. Of course, after Tuesday night's game, we wish you all the best for the rest of the season. Hopefully a win, of course, in the Steel City derby on Sunday. I know it's been a little time in waiting. So, hopefully Wednesday can get the job done. And with that, we're going to round off the show. Of course, all the usual content across our channels. We were down at Colney this lunchtime speaking to Johannes off Torp. So, full press conference is now available on the YouTube channel. We've got Tactics Board up there already. And, of course, we'll be at Carrow Road tomorrow evening. So, 6:45 p.m. for team news, kickoff 7:45. So, join us over there tomorrow evening ahead of this one, which feels like a big game for both.